I was finna make an intro, but y'all, tell me why I first recorded this video and it just didn't, the audio just wasn't there. My mic died and it didn't tell me. Y'all didn't tell me my mic died. Why would y'all do that? Why would y'all do that to me? Y'all really let me record maybe a 14-minute video and the mic wasn't even on. But whatever. Now, this video is about a character of mine from my comic, EatKings. You can find it on Webtoon. I have shorts that come out each week that y'all can read and laugh at so that I can kind of build more time of planning and stuff for the actual comic that I want to share with y'all. But anyway, you probably should recognize my character, Vance Advisor, from my TikTok or my Instagram, because that's where I post all my art. Vance Advisor is an employee at the EatKings restaurant, same as Trey and Jay. He's 16 years old and his name is Damani Stinney. Now, Damani is, he's younger than Trey and Jay, because Trey and Jay are like in their 20s. But Damani is still in school. He's still, going to class and trying to go to work and balance that life on top of his superhero life that he has going on. Now, Damani as a character, he is, the stereotypical black nerd. Like, I kind of created him as a way to be a sort of caricature of most black nerds in modern day. He is a character. He's someone who really loves comic books and video games and anime. He loves to read, and he is a tech genius. He does stuff with robots and computers. Like, he's real savvy in that field, and it comes to his advantage as a superhero. Now, he as a person, as Damani Stinney, he ain't got friends. He doesn't even have his parents. All he has at home is his robot Virgil, and he built it himself. Think kind of like Oracle for Batman. Like, he's doing the computer work and the crime fighting work. He is a person that is very shy, timid, he's kind of soft-spoken. He doesn't really stand up for himself. He's shy, he's awkward, he doesn't know how to talk to people. But as Vance Advisor, he can be beloved by the city. He can be confident, he can be outward, he can be very, even at times, arrogant. Like, he can be the most confident he ever feels when he has on that suit and that visor. Now, to explain him as a superhero, he goes out at night and he fights crime, usually street-level criminals. Maybe like there's a mugging in the slums of Somodor, which is the city Trey and Jay live in the EatKings universe. It's a dystopian slum. There's maybe even leaders of crime organizations that he's fighting off for other superpowered people. Now, to kind of explain the whole superpowered people thing, one, I have to explain the power system of EatKings, and then I'd have to explain Vance Advisor's powers, or Damani. The way the power system in EatKings works is that there is a place called the influence sphere. It is a deposit of energy that exists in a different realm of its own. I'm hungry. But Earth is very far from that influence sphere, so what people of Earth have to do is they have to kind of find ways to things that act as middlemen. The word I'm looking for is conduits. These phrases, these mantras that people use, people who use these powers are called orators, when they use mantras. They can use words as a conduit, as a middleman to the influence sphere and kind of dip into it for power. The more narrow the conduit, the stronger the ability. But that usually means the abilities can get more specific. Now, I've actually got my notebook here that I took notes about the power system on. See, there's 5 different types of mantras. There's summon mantras, manifest mantras, transform mantras, conjure mantras, and forge mantras. With these different types, typically there's a word to activate them. So, for example, my character Vance Advisor, he has a conjure mantra. My fault. There's still notes low key, but you know what I mean. He has a conjure mantra, and conjure mantras are basically like, think Logia users in One Piece. They kind of manipulate elements. They can manifest them and fashion them into things. And for Vance Advisor, that substance is Vanta Glass. Vanta Glass is something that he himself doesn't fully understand, but he knows that he can wield it. And for him, as an orator, his mantra is shatter. And when he utters the word shatter, it, creates a black mirror. And he can, smash it into pieces, fragments, shards of glass that he can use as projectiles, or he can summon the substance as a means of fashioning it into like weapons, like swords or shields or like claws or armor even. Now, as a superhero, his whole thing is mostly to protect innocent people. He's not truly looking to do harm, even if in some ways he can unknowingly enact more harm than he realizes, because he doesn't fully know his powers yet, and he is fighting street level criminals with powers. Not all of them are orators like he is. And now, speaking of orators, there's only 2 characters as of right now that work at the EatKings restaurant with powers, and that's Vance Visor or Damani Stenny and Cleo Truth. I actually had a drawing for her on Instagram. You could go check that out. But I might make a video for her later, some other time. But right now, we're still talking about Damani. If you've been on my socials, you've seen the comics I have, the short comics. And Damani's been in, I think, 3 of them. The first one he's ever been in was the Valiant Vigilante Vance Visor, which is where he makes his first appearance in my shorts. And he's in the background fighting a burger monster, while Trey and Jay are none the wiser trying to figure out how to even deal with the situation. By the time they come out, Vance Visor's gone, and it's just Damani mopping floors with a visor over his face, commenting on Vance Visor being there. I think after that, there was one where he was at the counter, working the register, and a customer comes up who is doped on ivory. That's a lore thing I'd have to explain later. But he's undergoing the physical effects of ivory usage, and he's threatening Damani at the counter. And Damani's soft-spoken, but until he activates his powers, he uses his shatter, he conjures his weapon and his visor, and then the customer puts him down. He stops threatening because he's like, okay, you got it, bro. That type of thing. And I think the third one he's appeared in is one that I just put out today on my Instagram and TikTok. And it'll come out again tomorrow with the secret panel on Webtoon, so you can check that out too. But he's been in that one, which it's an exchange between him and Trey. It's an exchange series I'm doing on my shorts where characters will sit down and talk with Trey, kind of open up to him. That's what people of the slums in Summerdoor do. That's one of the things. They go to Trey for therapy. But, he goes to Trey for therapy. He opens up about the fact that he has no one in his life to talk to about his superhero business. He only has, Virgil, but that's a robot, metal and wires. And how he doesn't really like being himself. When he's Vance Visor, he doesn't have to be him. He doesn't have to live a life as a kid with bad grades, or the kid that can't even talk to people. The kid who can barely keep his life together. But as Vance Visor, he is loved by people. He's praised by them. He's given the love that he was never able to receive before. And that's kind of what he opens up to Trey about. Now, you're probably more interested in lesser or so his backstory and character, and not as much as his powers, but you may be more interested in his suit. Now, his suit is obviously, it got the kind of grayish blues and blacks and bluish grays in there, And that was because I wanted him to be kind of showy. Like, in the dark, it's visible, but in like broad daytime, it's kind of neutral. Because he's supposed to be like a nighttime superhero that isn't too stealthy. And you notice on his wrist, he has Vanta glass cuffs and a visor made of Vanta glass. That's kind of the signature. That's why he's called Vanta Visor, because he's named after that article right there. If you notice on Vanta Visor, he has like a scarf. Now, when I first drew him, it was a scarf with 2 ends, which doesn't make much sense. But functionality-wise, it can be used to like cover his face and his mouth so people don't see him. But it's mostly there because, one, I really like Speedo Sonic's design for One Punch Man, but also because I kind of wanted to add like odd elements to the costume to where it's like you can tell someone who's not really into design or functionality is making a suit. Like, this is a suit made by a nerd, and you can tell it's pulled from other things because he kind of looks like a Power Ranger if you didn't notice. And on his waist is a black utility belt, similar to Batman. And that's because you gotta remember, he's a tech nerd, so he probably has gadgets built for whenever his powers may not be, in operation, so he can use those when he's fighting off criminals. Y'all are probably wondering about the black visor. Now, I kind of came up with that because I wanted the shape language to be interesting. For those 2 things, and the first things you look at with Vanta Visor, almost making him seem taller, because Well, the Mindy canonically is not that tall, but the way I draw him, he looks very statuesque, especially as Van't Visor. But that's good because it's supposed to be like a transformation almost when he becomes Van't Visor. But I was talking about his visor. Now the visor looks a lot like Batman's ears, and I kind of wanted to be reminiscent of that because it's in reference to Batman a little bit because, you know, his backstory and how he didn't have parents, but also because he's a comic book nerd, so it's gonna kind of resemble characters that he knows and loves. That's what I wanted it to be. And I thought it was an interesting look, to be honest, because it kind of adds to the whole, I don't know, the vagueness of it all. He almost kind of looks like Nightwing. I don't really know what made me decide I needed a character like that, but I just really liked the power, and I was like, that's cool. It has to be a character for EatKings. If you're gonna have a power system, you've got to have superheroes. And the first superhero I think I ever made was Balloon Man. I gotta show him off later to y'all, but that's gonna be a different video. Maybe even a different post, to be honest. But you can tell by my artwork that I like comics, I like anime, I like manga. Like, it influences my work. So even when I make pieces that like I put in galleries and stuff like that, it still looks like it came out of a comic book, but it's surreal. So like if I was pretentious and I had my own art gallery and following, like, you know, the fine art Basquiat types, I'd call my work Afro comic surrealism, to be real pretentious. But that's what I call it. I think that'd be hard for a style. Now, the original screen recording for this drawing took like an hour and 5 minutes. But I'm not gonna use an hour and 5 minutes of footage because like the first 20 minutes is just a sketch, and then like the next 40 is like the line art coloring, which it didn't even feel like it took 40 minutes, but that's how long it took, you know. I don't really know how to end off videos, but just know you should read EatKings, you should follow me on all my socials, and I think when EatKings becomes, you know, when it comes out as a full story, when I first drop it, I think y'all will love it. And I want y'all to be there for me on the journey of making it and being there for when it happens and ends. I want you to see all of it. But anyway, that's all from me.